everybody. I'm Karen Kopp, Chief Door Opener, and I'm here with the famous Jack Daly, world-renowned sales coach. And this is your Sales B12. This is the 10-minute dose of sales that you don't want to miss. Today, we're talking about playbooks. Jack, you wrote an entire book about playbooks. And talk to us about that. Why, first of all, why is it so important? People just want to get out there and sell. And leaders say to me all the time, oh, if I hire the right salesperson, why do I need a playbook? So tell everybody, why do they need a playbook?
Hey, Karen, it's not just the leaders saying that. We get pushback all the time from the salespeople, like, hey, you hired me to sell. I'm really good at it. Leave me alone and let me do my thing, right? Here's what I'll never get tired of telling my audiences. Sports teams are run better than most businesses. And what I mean by that is they do two things that we do very poorly or not at all in our businesses. One, they build a playbook of how they're going to move into the arena of W's, of wins. And then they take those plays in the playbook and they practice. They are prepared. Pete Carroll up at the Seattle Seahawks, and before that it was the USC Trojans on the college level. When I read his book, he basically said, we practice 6 days a week so damn hard that on game day, my guys, they feel like it's a day off. It's like a day of celebration. Many people know I run marathons. I finished up my 100th marathon in Athens, Greece, just this past November. And people think, wow, 26.2. But you talk to anyone who's done a marathon, and the day they run the marathon is a day of celebration compared to the 6 months of every day, certain amount of miles being trained and practiced and run. By the time the race comes around, it's a celebration. So sports teams are run better than most businesses. They've got a playbook and they practice the plays. Now, here's the deal. The largest sales force I had was 2,600 salespeople. And my message throughout the company was, there aren't 2,600 best ways to do this. What are the best practices at generating wins? What are the best plays? You know, it doesn't matter what company I work with. There's always a top quartile, a second quartile, a third quartile, and a fourth quartile. But the amount of generated business is massively different between those quartiles. All industries combined in the United States, the top quartile is producing more than 60%, and the bottom quartile is producing less than 6%. Now, they have the same economy and the same competitors, same product, price, and service, but the top people are doing things different than the bottom. Figure out what the top people are doing. When I go out to companies and get hired to speak to the chairman's club or the president's club, I have a client in particular in mind with 400 and some salespeople, and 11 of their salespeople were in the chairman's club 7 consecutive years.
Wow.
They all had the same competitors, the same economy, the same product, price, service, but 11 of the 440 were at the top of the pile for 7 straight years. Figure out what those 11 people are doing, put it into the playbook, and practice the playbook. I don't know how else to say it more simple and more understanding. How could anyone refuse to do that?
Well, I wonder, maybe they don't know where to get started. First of all, they probably have to put aside the time. That's hard, but they may not know where to get started. So can you give everybody a little guide, other than reading your book, which they should totally do? What is the guide to putting together that playbook?
Well, you know what? From my standpoint, the very best sales playbooks are built in concert with the salespeople themselves. Let's not have the leadership build a playbook based upon what they think is going to work.
Right.
Build it on the best people. And by the way, make it into a binder that can be opened on a regular basis, and you can take out a page and put in a page so that the salespeople know, hey, if they're doing something that they think is pretty darn good and they can make the case for it, well, guess what? That's now part of the playbook. And we're forever under construction with that type of playbook. You mentioned that I wrote the book on the sales playbook. That's what it's called, the sales playbook for hyper sales growth. And it comes with an app, and you can download all of the templates and all of the forms and customize them to your company. And then the other thing I would tell you, and again, it sounds like a plug, but it's real. I send several of my clients to an affiliated company of mine called Leverage Sales Coach. And my co-author, Dan Larson, runs that company. And they're in the business of helping companies build the playbook. So it really depends on how complicated your business is, how far along you are in having it. Some companies have it in disparate pieces and all over the place, and we just got to aggregate it together and put it in a place. But here's the thing with the playbook. If the salespeople are not saying, I love the playbook, and if the salespeople aren't referring to the playbook on an ongoing, regular basis, you have failed. You have failed. And so, I think about the GOAT, the greatest of all time in football, Tom Brady, and look at what, after all the years of playing and at his age, at the level that he's at, it's always with him. The playbook is with him. I think about Tiger Woods on the golf side. It's the playbook and his preparation and the practice on the playbook. That's the deal. Now, I'm going to flip this over to you because I'll go way beyond 10 minutes on just this playbook. But you wrote the bestseller, Biz Dev Done Right. You've got some of the best salespeople around, and I'm saying, look, where are the blind spots? What's being missed by people in crafting their playbook?
Yeah, so I'm first going to talk about sales messaging, and you know how foundational sales messaging is to the success of any part of the sales process, specifically door opening. Of course, that's where we eat, sleep, and breathe. But most people don't spend as much time as they need to developing sales messaging, the right sales messaging, and making sure that it works. While we do want to watch what happens with the top quartile for sure, sometimes the best messages are not with the people in the top quartile, and sometimes they're not with people in sales. So invite some of your customer service people in, especially when you're going over objections and the answers, and marketing people, yeah, invite them in too. But if they've never been in a sales role, it might be really hard for them to review sales messaging. But there was one time, Jack, I was in Chicago at the Ritz, and I'm sitting having breakfast with two sales reps from this 3 sales rep person company. And 2 of them are complaining that every time they hit one particular objection, they can't answer it. And so I'm thinking to myself every single time, like, how long has this been going on? And it's been going on for a long time. So a month or so later, I'm on the phone with the 3rd sales rep. And I said, we had this breakfast in Chicago, and this is what your coworkers are saying is their biggest objection, and they can't overcome it when they hit it. And she said, that objection? That's so simple. Every time I hit that objection, I say, and she proceeded to come out with the most unbelievable slam dunk answer. But what's the problem with that? The problem is the other 2 didn't know it because there wasn't a playbook and there wasn't a central repository of the best answers for these objections. So once you have that put together, it's not just enough to have it. Language plus delivery equals outcome. Language plus delivery equals outcome. So the language may be in the playbook, but if people aren't practicing we call getting the marbles out, then how are they supposed to come out with the right answer in a performance moment? So to avoid practicing on the prospects, make sure that you're doing a good amount of role practice, as Jack calls it, to make sure that when your sellers are in a performance moment, they're coming out with it the right time. Last blind spot. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, Karen, let me interrupt you for just a second. It just reminds me, one of my companies that I built was number 10 on the Inc. 500, like 10,100% growth. And we had 120 salespeople operating in a building, one building, doing business over the phone exclusively all over the United States. But every seller in those 120 seats had to practice a minimum of 1 hour every single day.
Yeah.
And like our product and service wasn't much different than our competitors, but our growth was record making. Entrepreneur of the Year honors from Ernst & Young, all of that type of banner stuff. But when you peeled it all back, our people were just better prepared.
Right. They're better prepared. When we take a look at some of the scripts, and by the way, life doesn't happen according to a script. So people need to be able to pivot in a split second in a conversation and go where the conversation goes. That's actually a skill that's very difficult to find in many people, but really required for the best sales talent out there. But when they're going from one place to another in the conversation, sometimes they have these scripts that they've received from management, and management always gives us those scripts when we're putting together the sales messaging for the door opener program. And when we take a look at those with our eyes, they're not strong enough to get the door open. And the objection answers are not strong enough to get past the objection. If you don't get past the objection, you don't get to go anywhere else. So the right sales messaging and making sure your people know how to use it in a performance moment is critical, and it's a blind spot. Leaders are not testing for this.
Let me go right back to the practice again, because it dovetails very nicely with what you just said. The messaging is absolutely important. It's critical. Words matter. Words matter. However, I don't want a telemarketer as a seller. I don't want to turn my sellers into an automated kiosk.
Right.
But what I do want is I want them to practice the playbook such that they know it so intimately that no matter what the prospect customer is saying, they can move in whatever direction is needed, because they don't have to think about coming up with any answers, because it's all in their DNA now. They've practiced it that well.
Right. And what we find is when they do that, like 90% of anything they're going to hit is in that playbook, and they can dance, they can shift to the left, shift to the right. Then there's only maybe 10% of things that they didn't anticipate, and they're able to handle it better because they don't have to handle everything.
In sports, it's called calling an audible, right? And internally, as a salesperson, I need to call the audible, but I don't call the audible and say, everybody go long and see if you can get open when I throw a pass.
That's right.
That's winging it. That's pulling it out of your backside. That's not what we're talking about. An audible is you're going to slide over into another part of the playbook.
So in summary, we're not giving you the option of whether you should or shouldn't do a playbook. I think we've made the argument here that everybody should have one. So it's just a matter of deciding, are you going to put it together? Are you going to call the leverage sales coach to help you put it together? And when are you going to do it? If you wait 6 months, 9 months, a year to put that playbook together, you just lost all that time and potentially missed all that opportunity and allowed your competitors to eat your lunch. So
hey Karen, what one last thing before you close us down. Okay. I have an expression I use with my clients when they're building the playbook themselves: thin to win. We don't need it to be some big, thick, voluminous thing. I need something that salespeople welcome with open arms, that says, this will make me money.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you for tuning into today's Sales B12, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
And I hope it was fun for everybody as much as it was for us.
It was lots of fun for us.
There we go.
Bye.